Hello friends, today we will be talking about Minnesota Point Light. The Minnesota Point Light was a historic lighthouse on Minnesota Point in Duluth, Minnesota, United States. On the shores of Lake Superior, built in 1858, it was the first lighthouse in the state, but is now a truncated, ruined tower. The ruin was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1974 for its state-level significance in the theme of transportation. It was nominated for being the first high-powered lighthouse on Lake Superior and the 0 point for all original surveys of the lake. The first survey of the Lake Superior was undertaken in 1823 by Henry W. Bayfield of the British Navy, who chose this spot on the Minnesota Point as the 0 point of his mapping. The point is the eastern end of the Great Sandbar separating Superior Bay from the lake. The passage to the east of the point, known as Superior Entry, was the original outlet of the St. Louis River. The St. Louis River, which rises in Minnesota, became the St. Louis Bay, then flows into Superior Bay and exits into Lake Superior via the ship canals at each end of the Minnesota Point, Park Point. Both Superior, Wisconsin and Duluth, Minnesota sprang up on the opposite banks of the river and bay to take advantage of the excellent natural harbor. Thus, plans for a lighthouse to mark the entrance preceded Minnesota statehood. An appropriation was made by Congress in 1855 due to the delays from the cold winters. The light was not lit until spring of 1858. The spot chosen for the tower was Bayfield's 0 point. A circular tower 40 feet high and 12 feet in diameter was constructed of red brick brought in from Cleveland and coated with white mortar. This was topped with a wooden cupola, shingled except for windows on the lake side for the beacon. A 1.5-story dwelling of the same brick was built alongside the tower, topped with a slate roof. A fifth-order Fresnel lens was installed, giving a fixed red indication. Construction of the dwelling was apparently substandard, as an 1868 report explained of leaks and fallen plaster. In any case, the station was to be relatively short-lived. In the same year, construction began on the first pier built to protect the Superior Entry's inlet. And in 1871, a new channel was cut at the opposite end of the sandbar to allow direct entry into Duluth Harbor. All of these required additional navigational aids, and in 1878 a lighthouse was placed on the north pier of the Superior Entry, and the Minnesota Point Light was extinguished. This proved to be temporary, however it was relit in 1880. A new pierhead light was constructed in 1885, and the old light was again extinguished, this time for good. The dwelling continued in the use as housing for the keepers of the North Pierhead Light, but in 1893 this light was transferred to the South Pier, succeeded by the present Wisconsin Point Light in 1913. This necessitated a new keeper's house on the other side of the inlet as well, and the old dwelling was abandoned, eventually completely disappearing. The tower continued to stand, its lantern gone and the brickwork truncated, the mortar gradually disappearing from the brickwork. A buoy depot was built on the grounds in 1903, but it too has been abandoned. The remains of the tower were put in the National Register of Historical Places in 1974. Thank you for tuning in to Read-A-Pedia. Please consider liking this video and subscribing. You can follow Read-A-Pedia on Twitter, and don't be afraid to comment on this video to let us know what page you would like to have read next.